wrongdoing is punishable, right thinking will be as quickly rewarded. You will find it an effective combination.
Greetings. Back online. Hopefully everything's going smooth. Starting out strong, I suppose. For those of you who are not aware, essentially what happened was my internet went out completely. The router died, and it took us a week to get that shit up and running again. So hopefully this goes smoothly. We'll see what happens. So far, the internet seems to be running pretty well, all things considered, with the new router, which is slightly closer to my computer than it was before. But yeah, we're back. We're back online. We're back live. It's good to see y'all. We are live currently on Twix, Rumble, and YouTube. If you're in any of those places, please do drop a comment so that I know you're here. This is a bit more of an informal stream. Those of you who've been here for Whispering in the Dark before will know this. It's more of a conversation with the chat than anything else. Otherwise, I'm just going to, talk into the mic, into the void, into the ether. It'll be awkward for everybody. So, let me know you're here. Yeah. So for those of you who were not aware, essentially what happened was, like I said, the router just up and died on us, and it took a minute to get it back online. So we missed Abyssal Musings on Friday, missed Beelzebub on Devil's Channel on Friday night, Saturday morning, missed Screaming into the Void on Saturday afternoon. We missed Amir's stream on Saturday night. I missed Adam's stream on the Renaissance Nerd channel yesterday, or not yesterday, but on Monday. Was asked to do a stream earlier tonight, and I ended up having to work late, so I couldn't have made it anyway. But even if I could, I wasn't even sure that we'd have the internet back up and running when I got back. As it turns out, we did, so that's awesome. I did end up working late, part of the reason for the late stream, as it were. So, yeah, just here to kind of chat, catch up a little bit. It's the end of the month, so it's time for one of these anyway, and we're close enough to the end of the month as makes very little difference. It is now the 26th of June, all that. So anyhow, how y'all doing? How y'all been? It's been kind of a weird week for me. I had to go dig a box of old DVDs out of my storage because I had nothing to do. It's funny, you don't realize how much you rely on the internet in your day-to-day, especially if you do this kind of thing, streaming or what have you, content creation, that kind of thing. Although since I don't make like scripted videos, I don't know that I would necessarily call myself a creator so much as a streamer. But the best I can do are like clips and shorts and that sort of thing, because I'm pretty god awful at editing. It's not a skill that I have currently. I'm working on it, but yeah, it's not the best. But anyhow, so yeah, I ended up digging out this box of DVDs that has like it's all science fiction too. I realized as I got it back to my place, all of it's science fiction. It's got the 2003 Battlestar Galactica series in it in its entirety. It's got the Caprica prequel series in it in its entirety. It has all 17 seasons of main Stargate in it in its entirety. I've got the first 3 seasons of Eureka in there. I've got Firefly. I've got Serenity. I've got, it's all science fiction. Really kind of hilarious how that worked out. This is I do have other things. I have a fairly large DVD collection, but in this case, that's just what I ended up doing. So I've been watching a lot of DVDs lately. Not much else to do. Couldn't get online. Couldn't do any streaming this weekend, obviously. Sort of put a crimp in any other plans I might have. And basically, like, even if I just wanted to like watch regular TV or play video games, all of that shit, all of it still requires like some kind of online functionality, right? Which I didn't have. So it was a very weird, strange, kind of boring, kind of frustrating weekend for me. Because the router died last Tuesday. So it's finally up now, and it's, I mean, that's a week. It's a week of nothing. And I think that says some not so great things about me and about how addicted I am to this internet thing. Right? I can't do anything without being online in some capacity. Even when I'm at work, I'm usually playing somebody else's YouTube video in my you know, on my phone in my pocket while I've got headphones on while I do my job. And all that. So yeah, it's I mean, we still had Wi-Fi at work, so that made that a lot simpler. But y'all might have noticed if you follow me over on Twix, I'm a lot more active in the afternoon, in the daytime, over there, or I have been anyway lately, rather than at night or in the mornings or whatever, because I couldn't do much about it while I was at home. So that's pretty much on breaks at work and lunches and that sort of thing. You'd see a lot more activity from me over there. Hey, Aaron, Laura, welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, it is a wee bit better. It is a wee bit better. Actually, I'm kind of surprised at how well it's working. Right. Obviously, there's some issues still with StreamYard. I really need to. I know I keep saying this. I really need to get over to a different streaming platform, because different streaming service, because this is wholly unreliable. Just the software itself, all kinds of problems with that. But the actual signal seems to be really good. I haven't had any issues since I turned shit on when I got home today, so I'm pretty happy about that. Um, but yeah, good to see you. Missed you guys. It was a really shitty, boring weekend. I mean, not all of it was. My mom came into town for about 4 days last week, and got to spend some good time with her. And I got to spend some time with my kids. One of my kids had a birthday last week too, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, it was not all bad. It just, like, I was forced with confronting actual reality, as opposed to uh, this, which is what I do. Yeah, I saw Caprica when it aired. I was one of the Sci-Fi Channel junkies, back during the golden age of Sci-Fi Channel. So I watched all of this stuff, as it aired and all this stuff, back when I still had cable. Right? Technically, I still have cable now where I live at. I just don't use it because I fucking hate cable. I'm not paying for it. It's part of the place where I live in, but it's just it's, I don't know. I got rid of cable myself. Well, we went to satellite when I was married, about 13 years ago, and we had that for a couple of years, and eventually we just cut that out because we weren't really using. We were watching like 2 or 3 channels, and we had 500, and there was no point paying for all of that, so we kind of cut it out. And I haven't really looked back. It's all been streaming services. So, but yeah, I saw Caprica when it aired, and unlike a lot of other people, I kind of liked it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't on the same level as Battlestar Galactica, but it was pretty good. There was some really interesting stuff with, like, religious ideology and obviously the downside of technology. Obviously, I don't get my opinions about AI and robotics from nowhere, from a vacuum. I grew up in the 80s. I saw all that shit. I know how it turns out. But yeah, so yeah, Caprica, I liked Caprica quite a bit. Not as much as BSG, not as much as, like I was just mentioning, I have Eureka, on the first 3 seasons of Eureka on DVD. I really need to finish that collection. I just kind of, it. I stopped buying DVDs for a while, and it sort of fell in that category, and I kind of forgot about completing it. So I only have the first 3, unfortunately. But that's a hell of a show too. If you guys haven't seen it, it's really good. So yeah, well, I could see where it could lead you questions, because it kind of got canceled before it was supposed to, because nobody was watching it. The ratings were really, really shitty. So yeah, Sci-Fi was great. When they changed the logo to Siffy, that's when everything went to shit. you know so but yeah, Sci-Fi used to be really great. I used to work in this laundromat in southern Wyoming, and laundromats, they have TVs everywhere, right? And on Saturdays, I would annoy the shit out of all of my customers by just turning all of the TVs to Sci-Fi Channel, because for about 5 years, right, all day long on Saturdays, Sci-Fi Channel would just play shitty Sci-Fi Channel movie after shitty Sci-Fi Channel movie. I mean, we're talking things like Mansquito and Lavalantula and Sharktopus and that kind of thing. And just like with the most horrendous special effects you've ever seen and the cheesiest fucking acting. And most of these movies starred people who were contracted to the studio, right? So they were stars of really, really good episodic television, but they were also obliged through their contracts to make these shitty movies. And I loved them. I loved watching those. And so while I was while I was at work at this laundromat all day long, I'd make everybody else watch them too. So, yeah, right up my alley. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a good time. It was a good time for television actually, because that was also in that area where like premium cable was really getting and going. You had things like Deadwood on HBO and that sort of thing. This was pre Game of Thrones, but like they were still doing like really excellent television. They did a show. I think this was on HBO, but it might have been Showtime. Called 6 Feet Under. That was basically a soap opera that took place in a funeral home with a family who ran the funeral home. And it was surprisingly good. I mean, it had its ups and its downs. There were moments where it was kind of shit, and there were moments where it was really great. To this day, single best series finale I have ever seen. It's incredible. I mean, even the shitty parts of the show couldn't dampen it. It's a really, really, really great ending. Um, but yeah, and like Dead Like Me, which was on Stars or Showtime. I don't remember which. I also have that on DVD because it's a great fucking show. But comedy about death, and what comes after. It's really innovative stuff at the time. So it wasn't just Sci-Fi Channel. It was really kind of a golden age of television at the time. So yeah, yeah, it was great. Yeah, it absolutely was one of the best endings. I have in any show I've ever watched, 6 Feet Under ranks as probably the best series finale I have ever seen in any television show ever. There are a few that come pretty close, but that one's top tier. Really, really good. So there are other parts of the show that was kind of like season 3 wasn't great. There was some pretty dull shit happening in season 3. But overall, yeah, it was a really, really solid show. Dead Like Me is great. And it was just and even network television, I think, was trying real hard to compete with them. So they were really kind of upping their game a little bit. And like I said, Sci-Fi Channel was probably the best basic cable channel for great television. So yeah, it's some good stuff. Yeah, you know what? I actually it's been probably, I don't know, not quite 20 years since I last watched it. But it's been a while since I last watched it. But that ending leaves an impression. And yeah, it was. I love Dead Like Me. It's one of my um, favorite shows ever. Actually, I think Mandy Patinkin was fantastic in it. It introduced me to Callum Blue, who later played a younger version of General Zod in, I think, season 9 of Smallville, and he was the single best part of the show at that point. He was incredible in that, and I was introduced to him as Mason, the thieving shithead British Reaper in Dead Like Me. So yeah, it was really good, and it was funny. It was really funny. It was kind of one of those things. This is why I'm always recommending to people that they read Terry Pratchett, right? Specifically Discworld, but not just Discworld. The reason that I keep recommending this is not just because, these are funny books, they're satire or whatever. It's because unlike, take Douglas Adams, who he gets compared to a lot, right? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's fun and it's funny, but it is in no way serious. The characters are kind of cardboard thin. They're not very well developed. I mean, Arthur gets a little more developed later on in the series, but they're pretty two-dimensional characters. Terry Pratchett writes from character first, right? The characters are more important than the plot because the characters are the ones who are living in the plot. And it's something that he has in common with the way that Dead Like Me was written, and actually kind of a lot of television at the time, was that the characters were the most important thing, right? The story served as the world that the characters moved through, but if you didn't have good characters, really really solid characters, none of that mattered, right? It didn't matter how well written the scripts were, if the characters were trash. And Pratchett was really kind of incredible at being able to write these like larger than life characters to you laugh with, you cry with, you get angry with, you're astonished with, that kind of thing, in a way that they almost become real to you. And he wrote something like 47 books in the main series, and there's another 5 in the Tiffany Aching series, which is sort of an offshoot. And then you've got Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents, which is another thing entirely. It's basically the Pied Piper if the rats were hanging out with the magical talking cat who was running a con on all these towns. It's a whole thing. Highly recommend his work. Yeah, it was, but like, yeah, Douglas Adams, the only thing that they had in common is that, because they kept saying Terry Pratchett did for fantasy what Douglas Adams did for science fiction. And I think at the beginning that was true. But the further you get into the series, the more real the characters seem to become. Hell, there's one character in it who's described as realer than real. Of course, he's a horse. He's Death's horse specifically. And for some reason, his name is Binky. But he's like more solid than any other horse in any other universe because he's like the realest of real horses. So looked up Discworld, but it looks daunting. Is there a recommended order to him? So the way he wrote them is kind of interesting. You can read them in publication order, right? There is a through line. Okay, so things that happen in the beginning of the series do affect things later down the series, but in kind of minimal ways and character driven sort of ways. And the world sort of feels like it's living and breathing. There's a passage of time from beginning to end that is most certainly there. However, each of these books is also written in such a way that you could read any one of them and never read another Discworld book in your life, and it's still a satisfying, complete read beginning to end. Right. So honestly, I don't think it does necessarily matter what order you read them in. The only caveat I would put to that is that do not read The Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic first, because they were kind of rough drafts for what the series became. They are part of the series. Things that happen in it do affect certain characters later on, but they're a little rough. And they're really just one book that was kind of split into two. This Color of Magic's the first half. Light Fantastic is the second half. I do recommend reading them. They're good, but they're not as coherent. I think those are the books actually that are why he got compared to Douglas Adams so much, because there's some really chaotic shit that happens like in the middle of both of them that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. It's a little hard to follow, but yeah, later on they're much better. I started with a book called Reaper Man, which I think is like the 9th in the series. I don't know. It was the first one I picked up and read, and I was blown away by it. And so I just got more and more into the series. I have read all of them except for the last one. I haven't finished that because the author, Terry Pratchett, passed away a while back, and I have a hard time letting go because he was my favorite author in the whole world. And I mean, you know how that goes, right? Like if I finish the book, then it's over. It's done. That's it. There's nothing else coming. So I haven't done that. So, hi, Larry. No, thank you, mommy. I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing this. It's only 12:30 for me. I know it's later for you, but yeah, it's only 12:30 for me. So, and I needed to, honestly, I needed to test the connection tonight anyway, just make sure. We just got the internet service back today. So this is kind of my way of doing that, plus catching up a little bit since I missed everybody and everything this last weekend. So, but appreciate you stopping by, man. Um, so Aaron Laura, okay, as long as standalones accept those two, all right, thanks. I come across some flowcharts and got me. Okay, so don't pay attention to the flowcharts. Read them how you want to read them. The only thing that I would, again, not really a caveat, but certain characters have their own arcs throughout several books, and there are 4 or 5 main kind of storylines, through lines, and then there are standalone books that don't really have a lot to do with the other characters. Although the one character who appears in every single one of these at some point is Death, and he has his own arc, right? Um, but yeah, there's the Death books, which are excellent. They're some of my favorite. The Vines books, which are my absolute favorite, about the captain of the Ankh-Morpork City Watch. The Witches books, Granny Weatherwax and Nanny Ogg are some of the greatest female characters ever written, in my opinion. And then you've got the Wizard books, which are goofy as shit. I'll be honest, they're goofy, you know, but they're fun. And there's some crossover, like for instance, Reaper Man actually tells a Death story, but at the same time, there's a B plot involving the Wizards of Unseen University, who have their own sets of books that have their own story in it. And then you get other weird little kind of offshoots, like Small Gods, which is about religion, on kind of a broad sense, or Moving Pictures, which is about the invention of the motion picture industry in a magical fantasy world. There's some really interesting stuff in there. But yeah, I would just read them however you want. Oh, and there's one other. Before he passed away, he started writing for a new character who got several books. There's the main character called him. His name is Moist von Liebig. Yes, his first name is Moist, and he's a con man. Excuse me. And his whole shtick is that he gets caught being a con man, and he gets forced by the tyrant of this city-state to basically become a public servant or die. So, in the first book, he has to revitalize the postal system. In the second book, he has to revitalize the treasury, and then in the third book, it's sort of the invention of like a railway system, again, in a fantasy world. So you're talking about people who just discovered steam power, right? It's pretty good stuff. I would highly recommend them. Excellent books, excellent characters. They are very funny. There are footnotes on almost every other page that are hysterical, and they will go from making you laugh so hard that you've got tears coming out of the corners of your eyes to shockingly sad and dark in the same sentence. Right? They're really, really well written. So, hey, Weasel, good to see you, man. Welcome in. I was just recommending Terry Pratchett to everybody. He's also written some science fiction. Sort of a dry run for the Discworld thing. There was a book he wrote called Strata, which was about a company that goes around, a science fiction book about a company that makes planets, like they build them from the core up, right? And then they, once the planet is made, then they deposit settlers on there with the basic necessities for survival, and hopefully they survive and they build a civilization, that lasts for however long. And these guys are paid to go around and do this, and it's about a semi-mythical flat planet out there somewhere in the cosmos, and the search for this, involving some of the people who build these planets. Pretty interesting stuff. He's got another book, a couple of books involving a guy named Johnny. Is Johnny and the Bomb and Johnny and the Dead, which are a little more on the supernatural side, but they're earlier works of his too. I'd also highly recommend, he wrote a book called Nation, about 15, 16 years ago, something like that. That's about, takes place in our world. It's not a fantasy. It does have fantastic elements in it, sort of spiritual elements in it, but basically it's about a young Polynesian kid who goes on his manhood ritual. When he gets back, there was a tidal wave that destroyed his people. It also crashed a British ship on his island, and the only survivor was a little British girl about his age, and they have to learn to trust each other to survive. Really, really good book. So definitely check that out. If you read, if you like to read, definitely do that. Very, very good stuff. I know I talk a lot about H.P. Lovecraft on this channel, and I do love me some H.P. Lovecraft. I love cosmic horror, but my favorite author to date and for the last 30 years has been Terry Pratchett. And I read a lot of shit, or at least I used to. I don't read as much anymore because, as we discussed earlier, I'm addicted to the fucking internet. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's good stuff. I highly recommend them. Unfortunately, there won't be any more forthcoming from him because, as I said, he passed away nearly a decade ago, I think. I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, it was a while back. Almost had a chance to meet him at a book signing one time, and that fell through for reasons. But yeah, it is what it is. No, Devil, I said Johnny and the Dead. The Dead. D-E-A-D. Or how did I go? D-E-D, dead. So, but yeah. Aaron Lord, that's like I said, I mean, the guy wrote, there's almost 50 books just in the Discworld series, right? So there's plenty of stuff, plenty of material there to read. It took me about 5 years to catch up and read all of it. When I started seriously collecting his books anyway, which would have been back in like the early 2000s. First time I read one of his books was probably 1997, staying over at a friend's house, and her parents had this kind of personal library that sort of puts pretty much every other personal library I've ever been in to shame. It was just walls and walls and walls of books kind of crammed into this space. And it was really impressive. And it was just a title. I saw Reaper Man on the thing, and I was a bit of a morbid youth, so I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. So I grabbed that and read because I couldn't sleep. And I ended up reading 2/3 of it before morning. It was really good stuff. So, but yeah, welcome to Devil, even if you are being a little weird. For those of you just coming in, so internet was down for a week, just got it back up a couple hours ago. I think it's been up a little longer than that, but I just got home a couple hours ago. I had to work late tonight. And so, yeah, I'm essentially just kind of running a stream, sort of a catch up and hangout, and kind of make up a little bit, and also to test my connection, because I would like it to continue to not suck. That would be good. So, hey, you guys. Hey, Pete, good to see you, man. But yeah, so we're up and running again, and it seems to be going very, very smoothly. Right, only thing I'm seeing on here is like the little signal thing for StreamYard is like only 2 bars instead of the 3, but it's, as far as I can tell, there's not been any issues so far, so that's been pretty awesome. Pretty happy about that. So yeah, good to see you guys again. I did miss doing this. I missed having you all in the chat and all that stuff. I'm gonna try something here, see if this works, because I haven't played around with this feature much. So yeah, next time anybody drops anything in the comment, it should show up on the screen, maybe. I don't know how this works. We're gonna find out. It is what it is. So, but yeah, welcome in, everybody. So we got 19 people watching on all places. If you're on Twix or Rumble or YouTube, I mean, the majority of y'all watch on YouTube. But if you're in any of those places, yeah, let us know you're here. Join the conversation. So I know, right? I know. I was so bored. So bored. It's kind of getting back to the thing I was talking about a little bit ago. It's kind of distressing to realize exactly how much of my life the internet is involved in, which you don't really realize until you're completely cut off from it, right? it's it's uh it's rough. It's rough, you know. And I don't have one of those like mobile data plans where I have unlimited data. It's very much limited, and I get charged like 20 extra bucks per gigabyte. And so using mobile data to keep up with people was just not feasible, because it was going to end up costing me, a hell of a lot more. Oh, there it is. There, yeah, there. It's up there in the corner a little bit there. Hey, Jacob Gallo, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Glad you guys are making it in. Hope I'm not keeping y'all up, except Larry. I know I'm keeping Larry up, but yeah, it's time for one of these anyway. We're coming up on the end of June, so I figured this was as good a time as any, as long as the connection holds anyway. So yeah, we're gonna just kind of chill, hang out a little bit. I think I might test something tomorrow night. I'm not sure yet, but I might try and see if the connection's good enough to run a game stream, because I don't think it is, but it could be. Might as well, and I won't know until I try it, right? So, and if it's not, then we're not going to worry about that going forward. But if it is, we might be seeing those come back. So there was a few that we left off on that I really would like to get back into. Lies of P, Castlevania Symphony of the Night we were playing for a while. Sunless Skies, which is an interesting little game. I've got a couple of other ones too that I could probably bring up. I was playing Monster Hunter Rise, and yeah, so I would like to get back into doing that, but honestly, I need a pretty decent connection for that to work, because otherwise it just reses out and gets all choppy and shit on YouTube, on the YouTube side, even if it looks good on my side. And that's a pain in the ass. So, and sometimes the connection just drops and just boots me right out of the stream if it's a bad connection. So, but I think I might test that tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. It'll be late like this, probably, after work. Maybe not quite this late, but still, just a thought that I had. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? We haven't, it's not like I've been doing game streams for the better part of a year anyway. I just kind of miss doing them. So, but if it does, we might be seeing random game streams popping up in the middle of the night again. And those are usually a good time. Oh, and I got to pick Bloodborne back up again. It's not my first play. I don't do like this first playthrough nonsense with a lot of this stuff. There's a couple of them. Lies of P is my first time through. Haven't touched that since I haven't been able to do this. But I did start replaying Bloodborne a while back too, and Nomi gave me some shit about how much I suck, which is. And then so I challenged her to do it herself, and she's like, "Oh, I fucking will." And anyway, it didn't work. Neither one of us has been playing it, but I do need to get back into streaming that one too. It is not my first playthrough. I did start a new character specifically for streaming, because I have another character that I've gone through the game probably 7 or 8 times, so probably won't be using that one. But any interest in Dune Awakening? As far as I know, Dune Awakening is a PC only MMO, if I'm correct. And if that's the case, I won't be able to do it anyway, because I'm running everything off a Lenovo laptop. It barely runs this. So it's not I don't have the capacity to run any of the newer PC games, and I'm not much of a PC gamer anyway. If it's on any other platforms, I might consider it. Right now I'm sitting here. PS4, PS5 is pretty much my only way to stream at the moment. So, but we'll probably, if we get into it, if I can do game streams going forward, I will most likely start doing some streaming with Monster Hunter Wilds as well. Been playing kind of a lot of that. So, but yeah, it's tis what it is. Oh, you haven't seen that yet, Aaron Laura? Yeah, I watched that at work earlier today on my lunch break. So the episode "The Body" is not in that one. It's the episode just prior with the fucking robot, right? With Warren, first time they introduced Warren's robot girlfriend and all that. Um, yeah, yeah. So she got to the end of that episode, which sets up the next one, which is the infamous body episode. And she couldn't even do her outro because she was so stunned. But yeah, definitely check that out. So, got its PC only for now. Console release next year. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out. I haven't really been into MMOs for a while either. Like if you've heard me talk about it over on Adam's channel, um, I played DCUO or DC Universe Online for 11 years, right? Played the shit out of that one because it took obviously it took having Batman in the goddamn game to get me into MMOs. And as a result of that, I ended up playing a few other MMOs over the years, but only a handful. I dipped my toes in Elder Scrolls Online, which was pretty, but kind of, shallow and boring. And then I played Neverwinter for a couple of years. I actually really liked Neverwinter. It just, ended up falling out with that one. And then I played Star Trek Online for a while too. And then I quit. And then I started doing, for those of you who remember, when we did the show Star Trek Engage over a year ago, we ended, but Horny Alf was on that show, and Horny Alf kept talking about it and making me kind of Jones for it. He got me back into Star Trek Online for a little while. It was just kind of I don't know. It was kind of a lot going on there, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me for MMOs. Most of the time, I play single player games. I guess you could count the Monster Hunter series as MMOs, but I mean, you can only have like so many people in your thing at a time. It's not like massive. So I don't know if I would count those. And I usually played with people I actually knew, like in real life. So it never really got to a point where I was just like, in a guild or something with people all over the world or anything. But yeah, so I don't really do a lot of like multiplayer gaming outside of like in person kind of stuff, which with like fighters and that kind of thing. Yeah, and my taste in games is kind of weird. I keep being invited by the guys to come join them for like Among Us and that sort of thing. I have no interest in Among Us, unfortunately, for that. I don't. It's not my kind of game. I couldn't really tell you exactly what my kind of game is. It's just they tend to be a little bit. They're definitely single player, and they tend to be a little bit like weird sometimes. I started this one called Edge of Madness or Edge of Sanity. I'm sorry. Edge of Madness is a band about a guy in Alaska who ends up trying to survive while Lovecraftian shit breaks out of a hostile lab and the elements are closing in kind of thing. It's all cell shaded and it's side scrolling and all that stuff. Like things like that. I tend to be a little bit more into. So I'm not great at survival games, by the way. I just enjoy them. All that. ESO characters in the 900s. Dude, I couldn't tell you where mine's at. I think I got through part of the quests that were available in. Now I can't remember what the homeland of the Dark Elves is, but Morrowind. Yeah, in Morrowind. But I didn't get too much further into that because, like I said, it was pretty. It just didn't really do enough to like draw me in. So I don't know. I think that Neverwinter doesn't have the graphics aren't as great as ESO. They really put a lot of attention to detail in the character models and the backgrounds and all that stuff. But the Neverwinter was fun. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. And it looks like something that came out in the late 2000s, which it did. So plus I got into that because it's the same people who made that also made STO, Star Trek Online. And I should probably qualify this. So everything to do on the ground in STO is buggy as shit and it sucks, right? Anytime you're on an away mission or you're on a planet or you got to do combat on a planet, it is so bad, right? What makes up for it is the exploration, and the ship combat in space is incredible, right? It's really, really good. And I love that aspect of it. Away missions, not so much. Away missions are kind of like, yeah, okay, we'll just do this. But I mean, you got to do them to get through it. And some of the later storylines kind of got bonkers and not in a good way. The most recent one I played, which was like last year sometime, was Mirror Universe Wesley Crusher bonded with Mirror Universe V'ger, who was called Conqueror, right? And became a god. And you had to go kill all of them with the help of, main universe V'ger and all that. And it was kind of stupid, kind of really, really stupid. So, I was not happy about that. Are you? You just now seeing that shit? Dude, I've been using that handle for a month or more. Yeah, ever since that disastrous little thing that Larry and Devil did on the show. Hey, Real Wade, good to see you, man. Welcome in. Yeah, I've been going by Thick Thulu for a while now. It's even on my Twitter profile if you care to go over and look at that. I even have hold on a second. Let me see if I can bring it up here. I even have a different version of me as Thick Thulu. It's kind of hard to see here, so let me switch up. Where's the there it be. Let's go with that. Yeah, it's got bare chested leather straps. You can't see the whole image because it unfortunately didn't work out with the way I was trying to do this, but the whole original image that I got done there, used AI to make it. you can definitely see Thick Thulu's bulge as well, just under his beer gut. So, yeah, that was just some fun. I've had some I've had some fun, man, with it. It's so good. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's still a cesspool, right? Elon Musk coming back didn't change the fact that it's a cesspool. It just changed how it was a cesspool. It's even worse now too, because they do this whole like you can monetize your shit. So every time you get engagement, you get paid kind of thing with the ad revenue and all that stuff. And this turned serious big accounts into engagement farming accounts. And it is the dumbest fucking thing. And it eats up everybody's threads and everybody's feeds. And it's so fucking bad. Plus there's a lot of assholes and idiots on there, and there always were, but there are more of them out. Yeah, Jacob Gallo. I know it's late. I know it's late. I don't expect anybody to stick around longer than they have. I do appreciate you guys coming in. If you got to get to bed, man, you're not gonna hurt my feelings any. I do appreciate you being here though. So, but yeah, Twitter is a mess, and it's actually, I think, getting worse. It's almost back to the old days. I mean, people aren't getting canceled off of there like they were when the commies were running the joint, although there are still commies who are kind of running the joint. But it's been interesting. Let me just say that I have seen Elon actually ban people who pissed him off, right? Not because of shit they said, just because he was mad at them. They weren't breaking TOS. He was just mad at them, right? The guy sometimes acts like a 2-year-old baby. Not all the time, but sometimes, yeah, he gets into his feelings, and next thing you know, he's accusing the president of being a pedophile. So yeah, it's just and not just like saying it or whatever, but he's posting that shit out there. I mean, he's deleted that tweet, but like everybody and their dog has screenshots, including me. So but yeah, it's and that's just from the guy who owns the thing. He doesn't actually even run it either. You'd think he did because he tweets like a fucking 11-year-old girl, in the middle of the night, hundreds of fucking tweets. And I'll admit, I do that sometimes too. I've only had an account on there for like 3 years, and I have something like 22,000 tweets on there. So, it's a little much, I think. That so being offline has helped with that. I've kind of backed off a little bit, but in these days, I really only directly engage with a handful of people that I actually know, or I mean, every once in a while I'll do something snarky, and there are certain accounts that I will badger the shit out of just because I think it's fucking funny, like WEF, for example, or Professor Klaus Schwab, or I went after Trudeau for quite a while until he got replaced by what's his fuck, I don't know, the forgettable dude that they put in office to basically just continue to do the same shit. I don't even remember his name or his face. He's just kind of like one of those forgettable people. I mean, he's evil as shit, but he's got that going for him, I guess. Sort of bland. Oh, and that thing that happened month before last when I got fucking blocked by PETA. Which, I mean, it took them long enough because I kind of been dogging their shit for about 2 years straight. I don't regret any of that, by the way. Fuck PETA. PETA's all like, "Oh, we're gonna block you because you keep attacking us." Well, quit killing puppies. Quit killing puppies, and I'll stop. It's that simple. So, I just get sick of their bullshit. They're always like, "Oh, wow, you can't eat this cute little piggy. He's someone's friend too." I was like, "I'm sure he was, but now he's dinner." And if you have a problem with this, then maybe don't euthanize all those fucking dogs. Just saying. So, yeah, it is what it is. But I'm actually, I'm not one of those guys who collects blocks like scalps. Right. My buddy Adam does. He loves that shit. He loves getting blocked by people because he, considers it like a trophy of sorts. I don't usually view it like that, but there are a couple of them that I'm actually really proud of. And the PETA one is definitely one of them. The other one was, if you guys remember back in like 02 or 2022, under the Biden administration, they were starting up this thing called the misinformation board or whatever. I don't remember off the top of my head what it was called, and I should, because I kind of made a big deal out of it at the time. Anyway, the lady who was put in charge of this task force that was supposed to go around, basically, they were essentially the Ministry of Truth out of 1984. That's like their whole gig, right? Was to go around telling people that, oh, what you saw is not what you actually saw. What the party tells you saw is what you saw. Kind of bullshit, right? And within 2 weeks of her appointment, she blocked me personally. And then like a week after that, they shut the whole thing down. So I'm pretty proud of that one too. Oh yeah, that was a good time. But most of the time, like I go after the UN quite a bit because fuck those guys. They need to be disbanded. Goddamn useless appendage. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. There's usually it's world leaders or self-professed world leaders kind of thing, like the UN, who were not elected by anybody, who do not actually possess any actual authority as a governing body. And are frankly a bunch of useless twats who virtue signal all on social media, and they wave their little sanctions around like, little plastic flags, and that's about all they ever do. Fuck those guys. So yeah, I go after them. But and specifically lately, the chairman or president or whatever of the UN, Antonio Guterres, I've been going after him quite a bit personally. I'm not attacking his personage, like I'm not saying like, you're a fat fucker. He is, but I'm not saying that to him. I'm just saying that like his position is one that shouldn't exist, right? Because it serves no fucking purpose. So yeah, it is what it is. Yep, 100%. If those guys, fuck yeah. Fuck those guys. Jake Gallo, UN are a burden on the world. They are, in fact, a burden on the world because you know what? We're funding them to do nothing. nothing, right? And the few things that they do, like it's so bad. Hi, Anna. Good to see you. Back online. I'm happy about it. I should be on the pub this week. I'm very happy about this. So the few things they do, if you look into it, right, there's been multiple instances of this, by the way, and it's all on record. You can find it if you just fucking Google it. It's really not that difficult to find. Where like the humanitarian corps or whatever will go into an impoverished region, usually in Africa, right? And they'll bring in all these supplies, these medical supplies, food supplies, but sometimes even building supplies for, building sustainable housing or whatever, supplies to, build bridges, dig wells, build roads, that kind of thing, all of which sounds good on the surface, right? But like that USAID crap that we were funding directly, right? It's not all it's cracked up to be, right? They were up to some really nefarious shit. And in several cases, in several different places through decades, right? A number of these fucking UN peacekeeper guys, right, would go into these places and they would have the supplies. And these people who desperately needed this stuff weren't getting it unless they let them rape their kids, frankly. So yeah, it's a fucking disgusting organization, in my opinion. I have no use for them, and I don't think anybody does. Not really. Frankly, I think the U.S. needs to withdraw, and if we don't withdraw, then they need to kick us the fuck out because we don't need to have any part of them. I don't think anybody does. We're talking about an organization who puts their periodically somebody on the Human Rights Council, right, from the fucking Middle East or from China, right, is like, there are actual current right now happening, work them to death and then sell their halal organs to Saudi princes, fucking death camps in China as we speak, right? And these guys were on the fucking Human Rights Council for years. So just fuck them. Fuck the whole thing. It is what it is. The UN is a useless, bloated, money-sucking organization that serves no fucking purpose whatsoever. Aside from, what all governments, both real and imagined, do, which is to siphon money from people who don't really have it to give, kind of thing. So, yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. Not my favorite people in the world. So, yeah, I go after them. I go after Antonio Guterres because he's, he's the guy he's the figurehead. He's the shithead in chief. So I do poke at him directly. And he tweets like fucking Elon Musk does, and he's usually some virtue signaling crap about now's the time to pull together without actually, doing anything to solve any of the issues he brings up, right? Which is, it's fine, so that's what so many other people do. But if you're the head of an organization that purports to be sort of an overarching like governmental entity, even though they're not, you'd think you might put a little bit more effort into it than just a tweet. That's all I'm saying. You're gonna help people, fucking help them, right? I'm sure he's sitting on a pile of cash, right? He could send some of that their way, or whichever way that happens to be, if he really wanted to. He absolutely could. And I'm not saying he should have to do that because I'm a capitalist. I think you should be able to keep your money. I'm just saying that these guys are going around expecting the rest of us to fucking give, right? So fuck him, fuck them, fuck them all. We don't need them. Europe doesn't need them. Africa doesn't need them. Asia doesn't need them. Australia might, on account of the giant flightless birds that keep fucking their shit up. But otherwise, and maybe Antarctica because them penguins are fuckers too. But I wouldn't go any further than that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how big an emperor penguin is? Some of those bastards can get up to like 6 feet tall, right? That's a big bird. So yeah, maybe send some of it that way. But otherwise, yeah, we don't need them. They're useless. They help no one. PETA, same deal. They go around talking a good game, and meanwhile they're often fucking cats and dogs and other animals left and fucking right. I actually pulled up statistic. I think this might have been one that got me blocked. I don't recall. That pointed out that in the state of I want to say Maryland, it might have been Maryland, it might have been Massachusetts, might have been Delaware. Now that I'm thinking about it, anyway, in one of those states, the sheer number of euthanized animals that were done under PETA's watch and PETA's facilities was light years beyond the combined numbers from all other state and private organizations of that nature, shelters of that nature, right? You put all of them together, right? And they don't even they're like the knee high to PETA's numbers. It's ridiculous how many they were killing. Still are killing, actually. I can't see them on Twitter anymore. So, but yeah, they haven't stopped. They haven't stopped. And they're not going to stop, and it's sick. It is, it's like, look, if you don't want to find these puppies a home, fine. I get the whole spade and neutering thing, because then you end up with a bunch of fucking animals that have nowhere to go. I understand that. But I mean, at the very least, and they don't even look, I know it sounds kind of fucked up to Americans, right? But that's meat going to waste. It is. It sucks that the puppy's dead, but the puppy could feed somebody as well, right? If you get right down to it. And so what do? They put them to sleep and then they fucking incinerate them, right? Complete waste. They waste their life and then they waste what's left. Hey, D-Day, welcome in. Welcome in. Yep, absolutely evil. 100%. Right there with you on it. I think they're evil fucking organization. Yes, they do. Weasel, I'm not Asian. No, I'm just not that picky about my meat. I'll eat quite a few things that aren't like conventionally acceptable in the United States or whatever. That is what it is. I mean, cats I get not eating too much of, because like they're mostly sinew. They're really only good for like soup, as kind of a broth, because there's not a lot of meat on them. They're just sinew and bone kind of thing. Till you get to the bigger cats. Bigger cats have a lot more muscle on them. But the problem with obligate carnivores is that they tend to not taste great, because of the way that they live their lives in sort of a constant state of like rest on adrenaline. And their diet's not, conducive to like really good. That's why we like grass-fed animals, right? Corn-fed animals, because it helps sort of, the meat tastes a little bit better that way. That's why a lot of people don't like eating reptiles, because almost all reptiles are predators, so, and also they're a little bit different than mammalian food. A bit of an acquired taste. I like reptile, but not everybody does. And I like some reptile more than I like others, right? Like python, not that great. Rattlesnake, really good. So it is what it is. All that they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Hell yeah. Here's the thing. If you're starving, right, you're going to eat anything you can catch. It's that simple. And all that. And I'm not saying we should be going out and like mass murdering dogs for food or whatever. I'm just saying, as long as they're going to kill them anyway, they might as well be put to use. Otherwise, it's just a waste. Right? Yeah, Jacob Gallo, grass-fed meat is better. I'm just saying that I'm more than willing to eat it. Let me explain my reasoning on this. Right? It isn't about flavor, right? Although I personally don't mind the flavor of predatory animals that much, but it's not about the flavor. It's about the fact that these apex predators would not hesitate to eat me. Therefore, I should feel no shame in doing the same to them. That's it. That's my whole reasoning. Weasel, I don't know how to break this to you, man, but if you and I ended up in that alive situation, like we crash landed in the Andes with a bunch of soccer players, I'm definitely eating somebody. It's definitely happening. It's, somebody's limping out of there with like only one leg, and I'm going to have a full belly. That's how that's going down. I will eat a person in a pinch if I have to. I'm not saying that's my first choice, and I'm not saying that I would go out and actually like try to find human meat or anything like that on my own in a time of plenty or anything like that, because that's fucked up. I'm not actually into human meat, but if it came to survival, yes, I would absolutely eat a bitch, you know. So, and I honestly, I think most people would, if they're faced with that or starvation, I think most people absolutely would. Very few people are going to stand on principle when it comes to survival. So it is what it is. User has been banned for 90 word zombie confirmed. Not yet. The prion disease has not yet crept into my brain. I'm not quite there. Welcome in. So it is what it is. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's not one of my streams unless cannibalism gets brought up. So, but I wouldn't call myself a cannibal because it's not like I'm actively out seeking to eat human beings. That's not a a thing that I wake up and I was like, oh, you know what? Ted looks tasty today. That's not where my head's at most of the time. I'm just saying, if I was in a situation like those soccer players, and by the way, those soccer players a lot of them weren't even meat eaters, right? Yeah, they would eat the guys who died, because they had to eat something, and the few of them who indulged in that, they got out alive. They had some probably dark, dark, dark dreams for the rest of their fucking lives, but they did what they had to, you know. So, and I don't hold that against them. Same thing. I don't hold that against the Donner Party. What I hold against the Donner Party is the fact that those stupid sons of bitches started their trek across that mountain pass way too late in the season, and they fucking knew it. And that's why they got screwed by the winter weather. Had they started earlier, a couple months earlier, like they were supposed to, they'd have gotten through no problem. Nobody would have been eaten. So, I'm sure I'll get eaten, but I taste great. I mean, yeah, I suppose it depends on your diet and whatnot. I mean, obviously you wouldn't eat them right away or anything. Vegan would be, I don't know about that, Aaron. I don't know that a vegan would be tastier. So here's the thing about human beings is that we are omnivores. We require both plant and animal matter in order to survive, right? And the problem with vegans, same problem with carnivores, really. The problem with vegans is that you're essentially cutting off half of your nutritional base. Most vegans that I know are severely malnourished, right? So I don't know how tasty they'd actually be. Right? Y'all saw Robert Downey Jr. when he went on that vegan shit a while back. He looked like a fucking walking corpse. It was all sallow and like jaundiced looking, like his liver was fucking dying, So I don't know. It seems like he's eaten a cheeseburger since then because he seems a little healthier now. But yeah, they say human meat tastes like pork. Yeah, that's why they call it long pig. Supposedly it's because we're also white meat. So yeah, I'm sure the taste is somewhat similar. It's in the same way. I don't think it tastes exactly. It probably doesn't taste exactly like pork. In the same way that that alligator doesn't taste exactly like chicken. They're kind of similar because birds and reptiles are sort of kind of tangentially related, aside from the cold, warm-blooded thing. But it kind of, yeah, alligator kind of tastes a little bit like chicken, but it not quite. There's a zing to it that's definitely not avian. Also, alligator is tasty as fuck. If you haven't eaten it, definitely do. Here, the USSR butchers had issues with where to get meat. I'm sure they did. Every time that that particular region of the world has been in, like, any sort of protracted war, supplies tend to be in short supply, especially in the northern part of Asia, where there's not much, but tundra, the occasional tiger and bear, right? There's not a lot of stuff you can scrounge out on the open way, the open steppes kind of stuff. Further south, I'm sure there's probably more that you can survive off of, but that's why the USSR put the gulags that far north, right? Is because most of them didn't even have fences, because where the fuck were you going to go, right? If you did escape, 1,000 miles in each direction, and there was nothing but like snow and the occasional predator. So yeah, it's pretty good. Rabbit starvation from eating beans. It's a possibility, dude. It is a possibility. No, my favorite cookbook is To Serve Man. Yeah, that one. From the Seminole Story. I'm trying to remember the name of the author. Is that an Arthur C. Clarke book? I think it might have been. Story, rather, short story. Yeah. I do likes me some good meats though. So I don't know. Weasel says, I've had alligator, reminded me of frog's legs. I have had frog's legs once, but I don't remember it very well because I was very young at the time. And when I was a kid, I was really, really picky, right? Like way more picky than I am now. You know how kids get, it's sort of to a stupid degree though. So like if it was anything that I thought I shouldn't be eating, I wouldn't eat it. So they would give me stuff to eat and not tell me what it was so that I would eat it. Right. And frog's legs, I think, were one of those things because the whole idea of frogs and all that stuff when I was like 6 didn't really appeal to me much. And I don't really remember what it tasted like. I'm sure it was good. I mean, I hear it's pretty good, but I don't eat a lot of like Southern Cajun food either. I think it's kind of a staple down there, or a delicacy, or some shit like that. So, but a lot of their cooking is way too spicy for me anyway. It's not that I don't enjoy spices; it's just the spices don't enjoy me. I'm one of those guys who really loves Mexican food, but the Mexican food fucking hates my guts. It's horrendous, you know what that stuff does to me. And I've had really, really good Mexican food. You know, I mean, you wouldn't think that living in Colorado, Nebraska, Wyoming, kind of high plains, Rocky Mountain area so much. But I used to work this job where I had to work a bunch of quinceañeras, and they would have these like an army of like little, you know, crippled by life grandmothers would march into that kitchen and they'd just start hand rolling tamales and shit and like unbelievable food, really, really good. But I don't know. There's only so much of that you can eat before your bowels get tore up. So and then there came a point in my aging process where I just don't handle that kind of spice anymore. And I realize there are things that are way spicier than Mexican food out there. So I don't usually eat like a lot of curry, for example, because like the Indian spices tend to be way past my ability to process. So. And it says, I love snails. I don't think I've ever actually had snails. I have had chocolate covered grasshoppers, and I have had chocolate covered ants. And I've also eaten a few insects that were alive at the time too. But it's the whole thing. It's like, I dare you to put this worm in your mouth, or I dare you to, eat this beetle kind of thing when you're a kid and all that stuff. So this is what it is. But I've never had snails. Never had snails. They always seemed a little slippery to me. All right, Aaron, I'm happy that you made it. Pleasure having you as always. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully everything continues to go smoothly. So have a great night. Get some rest. We'll see you next time. So Carolina Reaper peppers, never had one. I'm not really a fan of peppers anyway, in general. Like I don't even really like bell peppers. It's a flavor thing. It's not a heat thing. But the hotter ones, yeah, I haven't bothered to try because I would like my colon to stay where it is instead of blasting off like that 2,000-pound manhole cover in that nuclear test way back in the 50s. I'd like it to stay attached to me. Thank you. So probably won't be doing that. Not opposed to spices. I just, I got to take them in moderation. It is what it is. All right, Jacob. Have a great night. Thanks for hanging out. We probably won't be going too much longer anyway, just because I know it is late. And I just really kind of wanted to test things out. But late for most people, like Anna, not so much. It's morning for Anna, but yeah. They make bags for that. Yeah. I don't need. I'm not even 50 years old. I don't need a colostomy bag yet. It's like I've never been through an industrial accident. I'd like to keep it that way, especially if it's an industrial accident inside my belly. I don't need that shit. So we're going to probably not risk it, but I appreciate what you're saying. It's, I mean, I suppose if you're going to do it right, commit to it. In fact, why not have the colostomy bag installed prior to having this stuff? So that you just, are ready for when you need it. Might as well, right? You're gonna go ahead and blow out your ass. So I don't know. I mean, like I like some curry, but I got to keep it on the less hot level, right? Even like with Szechuan, it's a little much for my palate. So, and also my guts. I don't tend to react well to. There was a Japanese restaurant I went to after one of my buddies graduated from a vocational school years and years and years ago, and I got to have for the first time in my life at that time barbecued unagi, which for those who don't know is eel, and it's not crisp at all. It's slimy as fuck. And they take a section of the eel and they fillet it open and they lay it flat like a steak, right, on your plate. And it's been marinated and it's got all this stuff. It's very fucking difficult to eat with chopsticks because it's just like a single piece of fish. It's the size of your dinner plate. But you can do it. It's soft enough. It's tender enough that you can actually like cut it with your chopsticks. You just got to be careful about how you do it. I still have no idea what the proper way of eating one of those things is. Like I can use chopsticks, but like that, I'm not that skilled with them. And it was one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten in my life. It was kind of sweet and savory at the same time, but like in a really mild, pleasant sort of blended way. And I loved it. It was delicious. Problem is whatever the fuck was in that marinade made me pay for it hard 6 hours later, which I spent, a lot of time in the bathroom. I'm pretty sure I was breathing fire from the wrong end. It was awful. Worth it, but awful. So yeah, it was a painful experience that, like, hey, if I'm going to get into, foreign foods and spices and marinades and that kind of thing, I should probably pace myself instead of just diving right in. So I'm sure you could. I'm sure it's out there. The internet has all kinds of weird shit in it. Yeah. But yeah, eel was really, really good. It was delicious. I loved it. I just haven't risked it again because it punished me. I was punished by that fish. Like I've never experienced such swift and destructive karmic retribution in my life that I have from eating that eel. It was rough. It was rough, guys. The worst thing to come out of my body that I think has ever happened, except for one other occasion, and that was a friend of mine from Ukraine. Actually, she immigrated over here to go to school where she met her husband, who's from the States, and so she would occasionally get this stuff imported from over in the Balkans and whatnot. And so sometimes like she'd get this like kind of this really radioactive orange kind of marinade that he would use to make the best fucking the best grilled steaks you've ever had in your life. They were incredible. I love those steaks. They were awesome. And it looked like something that came right out of the fucking reactor 4 at Chernobyl. It was, this is kind of glowing orange powder that he soaked these steaks in for 3 or 4 days before he cooked them. But no, it was really, really good. But one of the other things that she got imported was this cognac from Georgia, the country, not the state. They do not have the same regulations on alcohol over there that we do here. Not even a little bit. And my dumbass was already probably 6 Heinekens in, and it is what it is. We were drinking a little bit, partying, having a good time, and all that stuff. Cigars were being had, and she brings out this cognac, and she fills up this like snifter glass, like all the way to the top, right? And she passes it around. Everybody's just supposed to sniff it a little bit and take a little sip and all that. Just kind of test it out a little bit and just kind of see whether we liked it or not. And this was, of course, imported in quotations. Because technically it did not conform to United States codes of alcohol production and was therefore not super okay to have. Anyway, it gets around to me. And I grab this glass, and I swear to this day, I swear this, my buddy sitting right to my immediate left told me I was a bitch if I didn't drink it. Now, I am a 26-year-old man at this point, and the whole thing about being a bitch, right, was kind of a big deal at that time. I swear he said this to me. Later on, everybody else said he didn't say a fucking word. And it's possible I was already drunk and I was just hearing shit, whatever. My dumbass empties the glass, right? Drank the whole thing. And then I chased it with another beer. And I'm like, all right, I'm fine. And I'm doing okay for another half hour, 45 minutes or so. And the next thing I know, I'm in the bathroom and I am vomiting orange fire, not just from my mouth, but also through my nose and a little bit out of my eyes. And when I say fire, I mean the vomit itself was orange and it burned coming out. Like it burned coming out of every fucking orifice. And I was in there for probably 3 hours, just looking like fucking Linda Blair from The Exorcist. It was awful. and then I was so drunk, but I felt so bad because I didn't want to fuck up the bathroom. They had a really nice house, right? And it was very clean and very orderly. So I took these little bits of toilet paper and I cleaned up all the specks in my vomit that missed, right? And not a lot did, to be fair, because my head was in the bowl for most of that. But I cleaned up all of it, and then I passed out on the floor on the cool tiles of the floor of their bathroom. That's where I stayed till my friends came and got me and dragged my ass home. My girlfriend at the time gets off work, right? She was working graveyards, and she comes home and she sees me passed out on the couch in the living room instead of in bed, because that's as far as they could take me. And I remember waking up long enough to hear her screaming at my roommate going, "What the fuck did you do to him?" It was a weird night, man. Yeah. Oh man, it was yeah, that's true. I did break the rule. I broke it hard. And then the rule broke me. So I ought to be young and dumb again at 26. Man, I kind of miss it. I was in the best shape of my life in those days. I was still doing some amateur cage fighting. I was in pretty solid shape for a tall, lanky guy. And I was having a lot of fun in those days. Older you get, the less capable of fun you are. I mean, if you have too much fun, the older you get, the less capable you're physically. You physically are of having that kind of fun again. Like I couldn't get back into a cage at this point. I'm not only am I not in the same shape that I was, but most of the guys who are doing it now are half my fucking age. They'd kick the shit out of me if I didn't just outright kill them first. So I'm just not going to risk it. But because that's not going to go well for anybody. But yeah, I do miss it. I miss being. What was that line that Emil Blonsky had in The Incredible Hulk? Right, he said, "If I could take what I know now and put it in the body I had 10 years ago, right? That's somebody I wouldn't want to fuck with." And that's true. That's true. If I could take what I know right now and put it in my 26, 27-year-old body, right, I would be pretty formidable, I think. I mean, not the most formidable guy in the world. Like I said, it was amateur stuff, and mostly I was I was trained up in getting my ass kicked in the street. So it is what it is. But yeah, no, I do. I miss that age. I miss that age. Physically, I miss that age. There was a lot of other shit going on at the time, not so great. But I'm glad you enjoyed that story, Anna. I enjoy telling it. I didn't enjoy it so much when it happened. It's a lot more fun to tell now than it was at the time. So, yeah. ATL Transparency News. Welcome in, brother. Welcome in, Indian Proverbs. Yeah. So yeah, that's facts. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s, and there are parts of me that don't work like they used to. Joints and such. When I was I've told this story before on the channel, but it's probably been a while, and I don't know how many of you guys remember it, if any of you. But when I was younger, and I was kind of in martial arts, kind of not, kind of just like fucking around with my friends in the park, kicking the shit out of each other. and by younger, I mean, like at this point, I was probably 16, 17, 18 years old in that range. And I was out with one of my brothers who is bigger than I am. He looks like a Samoan. He's a couple inches shorter than I am, but he's got a good 150 fucking pounds on me. Right. Um, and I remember throwing a roundhouse kick his way and thinking, oh, as you do when you're young and dumb, just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be so cool and all this shit. Anyway, the son of a bitch snags my leg out of the air and yanked so hard he pulled the fucking whole thing out of the hip socket. Right. I mean, he didn't tear off or anything like that, but like the actual bit where the ball of your femur sockets into the hip joint, yeah, it separated a little bit. It's been a problem ever since. Like it doesn't hurt anymore when this happens, but on occasion, if I get up wrong or I sleep wrong or I step wrong or whatever, the fucking thing slips out of the goddamn socket again, and I got to put it back before I can get any further. And that's just one example. I've got hairline fractures in my ribs, my hands, my feet, my shins, probably my head, that never quite healed right. Did a lot of damage to myself, and that's just the physical activities. I'm not even getting into, the chemical assistance, which also fucked me up pretty good for a long time. But yeah, my 20s were eventful. They were very eventful, and I am paying for a lot of that now. So, I mean, if you younger people out there are listening, treat yourselves better than I did, right? Have your fun or whatever, but like be fucking smart about it. Don't do stupid shit like I was doing, you know, because you're gonna pay for it later, and it's gonna suck, and it's only gonna get fucking worse, right? I'm developing arthritis, and I'm not even 50. It is what it is, you know. So, and that is a whole lot more likely to happen if you've damaged joints, or if you've broken, bones or any of that stuff. So, not a doctor, not a doctor. I'm just saying, maybe don't be a dumbass. So, Indian proverbs, they know their day of death and say, if a man knows the day of his death, they would have been a braver men. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I have no idea what the day of my death is. I know how I'm going to die. I've always known how I'm going to die. I've known that since I was a fucking small child. I mean, not in so much in specifics, but it's going to be violent. Something's going to happen that's going to take me out very quickly and probably with a lot of blood. I don't know what it'll be, but I'm not one of those guys who's going to fucking waste away in a hospital, or die peacefully surrounded by loads of grandchildren or any of that shit. Like, that second option, I would actually prefer, but that's not going to happen. It's one of those things that, sometimes you just know something in your bones, like it's not even like a so much of a mental thing. It's just something that you just know, like with every cell of your body, right? This is one of those things. I'm gonna die bloody, but no idea how. I mean, it's probably going to be something stupid like getting kicked in the head by a horse or getting fucking hit by a bus or something like that. But it's going to be violent, So, but yeah. If I don't know, let's talk about that for a second, though, because I'm curious what you guys think about this. The idea of knowing when you're going to die, right? Like, yeah, I could see where it could make you braver men, but I think it also kind of, I don't know, takes the edge out of life, right? If you know, like we all know we have a finite amount of time, but we don't know exactly how long that finite amount is. Like, if you remember your Hellenic lore, the fates would, spin the line of your life. First one spins it, second one measures it, third one cuts it, right? And only they knew how long everybody's actual lifeline was, right? And I think it's probably better that way. I think it's better that we don't know, because if you don't know, in my opinion anyway, I mean, I know a lot of us waste a lot of time. I've done it myself, right? But if you don't know, I think the incentive to live a fuller life is there, because your time could be up fucking tomorrow. You don't know, right? Hopefully it's not, but The fact that that it could be, I mean, it could be 50 years from now, it could be 100 years from now, given modern technology. Who knows? But you don't know when that's going to be. And I think that that's a better incentivization for living a fuller life, a more active life, a more involved and rich life than knowing exactly when it is. I don't know that I would want to know when, specifically. So I think it depends on the person and the way it's said they will go. I mean, yeah, I could see a lot of factors there. Yeah. I don't see any value in seeing the future. I think that it knowing the exact date will color everything that you do, right? You might think twice about some things. You might not think twice about things you should think twice about, So, and that's the thing. It may become a coward trying to avoid. So then you get into what we call self-fulfilling prophecy territory, right? Like people trying so hard to make a thing not happen that they end up becoming the ultimate cause of the thing that they were trying to avoid, right? And I mean, I was sort of playing fast and loose with the metaphysical talking about this, but it's entirely possible that this is why I've always had a problem with a lot of you guys know that I'm for lack of a better term, a godless heathen. I was practicing pagan for a long time. I'm not so much on the practicing side, still believe all this stuff though. And one of the things that always came up was different forms of divination, right? Divination is just attempting to see what's coming down the road before it actually happens. That's all it ever was. Some people do that with prophecy. Some people do that reading tea leaves. Necromancy is a form of it, like true necromancy, not the Hollywood shit where they fucking raise skeletons and stuff. That's not a thing. True necromancy is just talking to fucking dead people. That's it, and maybe you get an answer back, I mean, it's still not a great idea, but it's not like you're going to end up with Thriller in your living room. There are guys who can say they can read the future by looking at the veins of blue cheese. I don't know. That's a thing. Geomancy, looking at earth, throwing bones, all this stuff, I Ching. All of these things are forms of divination. And it's always seemed kind of pointless to me because, I mean, if you think about it, right, the future is vast, right? It's rife with possibility. Not knowing makes it rife with possibility. If you know for a fact what's going to happen, right, you're going to either try to steer things towards it or try to steer things away from it. And like none of us know for a fact that the future is set. We don't know that it's not. It's we don't know anything about that. We just know that we're here now. The future is eventually becomes the present, eventually becomes the past, sort of thing. My problem with divination is that it's like looking at this massive tapestry, right? Take the biggest, most glorious tapestry that has ever been created anywhere. Let's go with just for shits and giggles. We'll look at Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel painting, right? We'll talk about even specifically the section where it just shows Adam and God touching fingers. We'll just take that as an example, right? Divination is like looking through at that masterpiece through a pinhole from about an inch away. You're only seeing a couple of spots of pigment and it's out of context, right? It's entirely useless, in my opinion. So, yeah, kind of like Odin trying to change his destiny. Hey, Kenzo, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. So, yeah, I've never held with divination. I do believe it's a real thing. I just think it's a useless thing. Practically speaking, it's not something that bears any fruit that comes to any good end, in my opinion. Especially with the out of context thing. Like, you get up super close, you look through, like, hold your finger up or your hand up, curl your index finger in real tight. You see that little pinhole of light. Now look through that up close at something, right? How much are you actually getting out of that? How much information is that? And what is that information actually fucking worth? If you can't see the whole picture, what's the point? That's just my opinion on it, but things sure do get crazy down here in the event horizon of fourth dimensional black hole. Well, Yeah, you know, that's true. That's true. Shit gets wild. Shit gets weird. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how metaphysical we want to get it. I don't know. Maybe one of these days we'll do a bit more of a deep dive on in metaphysical topics here. I know that the folks over on Screaming into the Void sometimes they get a little bit weary of my interest in this subject. But yeah, we do talk about this stuff, but it's not every day, and it's not all that common. And sometimes um, not everybody's that into the topic. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do one of these solo streams more along those lines down the road, kind of thing. It's a thing that could happen. We'll see. I don't see why not. I enjoy talking about stuff. Well, but we do have some stuff for this weekend. Unfortunately, try as I fucking might, I've been trying to stay away from, like political shit, current events, and all that stuff. And the entire fucking world is conspiring against me in that regard because I can't get away from it. So there probably will be some of that talk coming up here in the next few episodes, particularly involving the 12-day war and all of that shit, or what Trump's calling the 12-day war. Probably more soundbite related than actual news related. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it doesn't seem like I can get away from this shit. It's fine. It's fine. I do have some other stuff on there though, involving races of people who are not human being dug up, that kind of thing. With only like 3 digits on their hands. I kind of got 3 really long digits on their hands. I got a whole thread about that I socked away for this. I think we're going to go through at some point. Ran across a thing about a sex addicted tortoise that fathered like 800 kids, saved this whole species from extinction. That's pretty wild. So I don't know. We've got some stuff to talk about. Oh, and there was one thing that came up that I think we actually have brought up on the channel before, and on Screaming into the Void in particular, but I'm going to bring it up again because we've got new people, new panel, new voices than the last time I brought it up. And I think it's fucking hilarious, and we'll talk about it then. It's in line kind of with some of the topics that keep coming up, and I think you guys would probably enjoy that one. So, yeah, things have been just getting stupid. It's fucking annoying. Here I am wanting to talk about like cosmic things or things in tech or, whatever. And the entire world's focused on like, oh, hey, maybe we should blow shit up. I'm like, all right, well, you want to go back to boring old standbys, I guess. It is what it is. So, still won't be doing anything on like, kids and that kind of thing. Cause I've had fucking enough of that, as I've said before, repeatedly on multiple streams, but yeah, I don't know. We'll be back this weekend, and I don't know if this connection, this seems pretty solid. If I can get this to maintain throughout the weekends, we might be getting closer to actually bringing guests back too, which will be cool. Like bona fide guests, not just my friends. And so that'll be cool. Because I really wanted to wait till I had a stable connection before we had like real guests on again, because it's not really fair to them if the host of the show keeps getting booted from his own show, right? That's kind of annoying. It's annoying for everybody. But I think it would be unfair to people who don't necessarily know how to roll with that, So yeah, I've been putting that off a little bit, but we might be a step closer to getting some actual guests on, which would be very cool. And some other stuff. And I don't know. I do apologize once again before we close out. I do apologize once again about last week. It couldn't be avoided, and Larry had some things he had to do at IRL, so he couldn't even run the show on Friday. So we will be trying to make up for that. We are also getting closer to the 150th episode, which probably will just be a bunch of people on panel, bullshitting and having a good time. kind of celebratory thing a little bit, but something that's fairly informal, like the last one, if you guys remember the 100th, or the 50th kind of thing. But we are creeping up on that. We've got like 3 more episodes to go, and then it will be the 150th. Hopefully I won't have to skip any more weeks because it's already been pushed back like 2 or 3 weeks further than it should have been. But yeah, and I know Larry's got some exciting stuff planned for Abyssal Musings. I'll also be returning, obviously, to Beelzebub and Mellow Mondays, and I should be able to make Amir streams again. That last one, I couldn't even fucking log in. It was really annoying. So, excuse me. Don't smoke, kids. It's not good. I've been trying not to cough in you guys' ears. I suppose I could make use of the mute button. I've just been trying not to fill it up with dead air. It's usually a lot easier to do when there's more than one person up here. Hold on a second. Oh, that came with a prize. Anyhow, yeah, we'll probably shut it down here. I think probably an hour and a half in the middle of the goddamn night is pretty good. Pretty good. I do appreciate all of you guys showing up and hanging out. Helping me test out my connection a little bit, helping me get back in the groove of streaming. It's always surprising to me when I don't have a panel. The very first one of these I did, I was just going to do like a little 10-minute thing, right? And I ended up talking for 2.5 hours straight, right? And I had one guy in the chat the entire time. He just hung out and he chatted with me the entire time. But until that moment, this was, I don't know, 2.5, almost 3 years ago. I had no idea I could just talk into a microphone for that long a period of time. It's one of those things where you just kind of surprise yourself a little bit with it. And as it turns out, I really enjoy doing this. So that's not so bad. But yeah, I do. Wait a minute. What's hold on a second. Funny enough, they scratched my itch of looking into cosmic subjects. Been avoiding the news playing gotcha. Okay. That'll do it. You feel like a schizo with no chat. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because like, it's just essentially like I see you guys are interacting with me, but if we look at this objectively, it's names and words on a screen, and it's really just me sitting alone in this room talking to myself, essentially. I know I'm talking to you guys like in actuality. It's just it's kind of a weird feeling when you the chat really helps a lot with that, but it does also help mitigate some of the weirdness of what we do, of the streaming thing altogether, when you have at least one other person on panel with you, because then you've got somebody you can auditorily hear bounce back and forth, kind of thing. And that does make things a little bit easier, a little bit more interesting. But I don't know. I like doing this on my own once in a while too. It's a strange experience, but it's a very enjoyable one in my opinion. So yeah, makes sense. Yep. So, but all right, guys. It helps that I have a great radio voice too. Thank you, Anna. I've heard that a couple of times. That's good. That's good, because if I had, I don't know, like if I sounded like Steve Urkel, that could be a problem for you guys. You know what I mean? A little bit of Steve Urkel goes a long way. So, like, can you imagine if I was up here saying, "Did I do that?" Like, I'm not going to keep doing the voice, but it would be good. I definitely have a face for radio. Yeah, a face for radio and the wrong kind of dreams. So it's I'm not quite this handsome. This image here, I'm not quite this handsome IRL, but it is what it is. So, but yeah, I do appreciate the compliment though, Anna. And all that. And I thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate all of you. And I'll see y'all soon. So just keep an eye on the thing. Might try the experiment with a little game stream late tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, we'll see you guys Friday for Abyssal Musings and then the pub. Have a great night, everybody. And yeah, remember, it could always be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras. Bye.